Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Marvel Legends Avengers Beyond Earth's Mightiest, Thor vs. Marvel's Destroyer, not to be confused with the other Destroyer, you know the one. And this set had the potential to be Hasbro's shining moment this year. I think everybody would have been very happy to have an excellent 2-pack of Thor and the Destroyer, or just a Destroyer, not the Destroyer. I think that would have been great, and they did make a whole new mold for Destroyer, so it's like so close, so much opportunity to just really show everybody what you've got with this set. And unfortunately, Hasbro did what they do best, and they Hasbro'd all over this set. There's some good stuff, don't get me wrong. We're going to talk about the good, but we're also going to talk about the bad, because that's what reviews are for, and I'm here to save you money. I'm here to help you have a better collection experience. So let's go ahead and get these guys off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, now that we do this every video, we're going to take a look at my package before we get into the figures. Here's the front of the box. I like it. The 2-pack thing, having them fighting each other, good idea. It's a good looking front package. On the side, you have a weird setup. A whole lot of empty space there with Thor right behind. I don't know, that's a weird look. And then on this side, oh, they're trying to do that, only they didn't make it look good. So, okay. All right, and then on the back, you have what really is the problem with this set is that both figures are so much less impressive than they should be, and this shows it. Like, they don't even bother. What is this hand? Is this him just like, oh, arthritis hand? Like, I get the hand normally, but why this pose? What is going on here? Why don't they try? That's what I want to know. And then Destroyer is just standing there, kind of showing off his chubs. All right, so there's the packaging. All right, that's a cool image right there. And this image, oh, that's down here. It's less. Okay, all right, package examination is done. Let's start with everybody's favorite Avenger. Question of the day, who is your favorite of the Avengers? The core original Avengers. Like, not MCU, just, I mean, I guess they got it pretty much right, but like, let's not go out to every person who is ever an Avenger, you know what I mean? Just because that goes out to, like, everybody. Like, I don't want to hear Beast, all right? I want to hear, like, of the original group being, let's keep it to 10, all right? I'm going to go with, obviously, Iron Man for me, and then I would go with, probably Thor, I guess. All right, let's give him a height measurement. He stands just about 7 1/8 to the top of his little helmet nip, and that's gonna make him, not counting the ears because that would be cheating in scale, and that's gonna make him roughly, we'll call it 18.25 centimeters. Here he is up against everybody's favorite Darwin. He's got some serious size to him, which is good because it's Thor. I like that. There's a lot of reused parts on here, a couple of new parts, and so let's go ahead and talk about the aesthetic. Then we'll bring out Destroyer and do the same thing for him. So this guy, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, and I don't want to start with the worst of the negatives, but I have to because it's so egregious. The way that they didn't sculpt him a new torso and then didn't even do a decent job painting it is just, it's offensive at this point. And so because of this alone, right here, they didn't match the paint. It's a terrible paint job. It's all fuzzy. Because of that alone, I'm going to say do not buy this set. It's not worth it. Unless you buy it piecemeal on eBay, because then Hasbro doesn't know how successful it was. But I don't think it should be successful at all because of that. Could it be any lazier or cheaper or uglier? Because the rest of the figure looks decent. Like, yes, they are using the old arms with pins. It does have the really ugly bicep swivel. But the legs are pretty good. The boots look decent. For being bare plastic, they have a little bit of sheen to them, so I'll take that. This area looks nice. There's a little bit of texture here, which is strange because there's no texture anywhere but his crotch. So that's a little weird. See the texture? But we have this really nice head sculpt on here. And they did go for that semi-realistic, comic, weird, uncanny valley look, but they did a good job. This is one of their best, I think. Maybe the beard could use a little bit of disheveling down here at the bottom, but it looks nice. The hair has some coloring to it. The beard is a different yellow, which is reasonable, but it's pretty good. The shading on the face, the eyes look wonderful. Really liking the head sculpt. These things up here painted nicely, sculpted nicely. The hair on the back is nice. This is a good looking head sculpt, and it's a generally good looking Thor body. I do believe most of it is reused. I seem to remember this cape was from one of the previous versions, but it's a pretty good looking Thor. Other than the fact that they decided to make his tank top just paint, and it's abysmal. which is so unfortunate. If I was gonna rate this guy, also he's got no trunk. He's very narrow, very thin and narrow in the torso. His legs are fairly beefy, his arms are fairly beefy. He's got kind of a large head, but then nothing going on here. So it's a little iffy still, but if we could look past the horrible situation going on here, I'd give this guy a 9 out of 10 for Marvel Legends for the aesthetic. But as it is, it's gonna get a 4 out of 10. It's plenty good in plenty ways, but this right here is unacceptable. So that's unfortunate, really unfortunate for this guy, 4 out of 10. Now, as far as Destroyer goes, when it first came out, I commented something about him having a pot belly. And the pot belly is not anywhere near as bad as it looked in those original photos, but I do have to say, let me just stand him out here for you so you can see. I do have to say, let me drop the camera down too so it's a fair thing. There you go, right in the center, pretty much even with the figure, slightly up, but still. It doesn't quite have the right shape, and it's mostly in the chest. I don't really mind the rest of it being kind of Pillsbury Doughboy sort of thing. Like, he doesn't have defined features that much most of the time in the drawings, so that's okay. But the way they do their big duck feet, and then the legs not having that much shape, and the arms not having that much shape, and then the torso having almost no shape, particularly in the chest, and we'll get closer to it in a second, it really makes this guy go from imposing as heck, because that's what his job is to be, to just meh. Doesn't really do it for me with that sculpt. And I'm gonna get him closer to the camera now so you can see what the real problem is, and it's the chest. Chests are not shaped like that. It's almost completely spherical. Let me move the arms out of the way as much as I can and lean him this way. Look at that chest. It is almost a sphere. That's not the way pecs are shaped. These muscles should not be sticking out the farthest right here and then just disappear. There should be more of it, should dip in a little bit more here and have much more meat on this side. And that would give him pecs, and that would make him look so much better than he does. That's really the only thing you absolutely need. I don't even mind, like I said, the rest of it being kind of doughy is fine, but he needs a little bit of chest. I'll do a Photoshop to show you guys how much better that would look, though it's gonna be hard, because I can't really Photoshop the thickness properly without spending like hours and hours trying to actually retouch it to make it look legit. But I'll just puff it out a little bit here as best I can and try to show you what that looks like. Even if they had to bring the shoulders out just like 1/8 of an inch on either side, would have done wonders for this figure, so that's unfortunate. But let's talk about the rest of it. I do like the detail sculpt work. All of the little spikes are pretty cool. Like, there's definitely spiky enough, especially around the hands and arms. I like that. I like that they did make him kind of glossy. They used the marbly plastic. Not super noticeable on the front, except for on his collar and that part of the chest right there. But on his back, it's terrible. I really just want to get away with the marbly plastic. If they made this guy in the shiniest silver they ever used, like on Archangel's wings, it would have been gorgeous. This is okay, though. And they did put a wash over him, sort of. It's the weirdest wash, because it's there. You can see the griminess of it around the collar there. I'm guessing the face was actually purposefully painted rather than a wash. The eyes are clean, I like that. But there are other places where it's like, is it actually a wash? I think so. It doesn't look like tampography, but it's also not, I don't know. It's questionable, but it's there, and I'll take it. But it's also, I wish it was on top of silver rather than marbled plastic. It would have looked so much better, but this does look good as it is, good enough. So I'm going to give this guy a 7. It's perfectly average for Marvel Legends as far as the aesthetic goes. Just because it's a new mold and big doesn't mean it gets bonus points. The fact that it's a new mold holds it back, because if it's a new mold, they have free reign to do exactly what they want. And there's no way in hell should his pecs be narrower than his waist. Or at least as narrow as, it depends on the angle you're looking at. But look how skinny his chest is, it just ruins the look. Unfortunate, but they did bring the shoulders back pretty far, so I do kind of like that. Okay, so aesthetics are covered. Let's do accessories. For Destroyer, we just get the 2 alternate hands. Nothing really doing there. And then for Thor, we do have his alternate head. So you get the open face helmet, which is pretty cool. Then you get the one with the weird faceplate. Personally, I don't care for this look. Let's do a question of the day. Do you guys like this look? I do not. But the part around the eyes is not sculpted properly. It's asymmetrical. The little dip above the nose is goofy looking. It's not square. It looks wrong. So you get that, and then you get one alternate fist hand, which is lame, because all he has is a hammer holding hand, the arthritis hand, and then the fist hand. And then you get his hammer, which is okay. But his hammer has 0 metal to it at all. It's just gray, so it looks pretty cheap. So accessory-wise, I'm going to go 2 out of 10. Took some spite points away there. Let's go ahead and run the articulation for Thor first. Then we'll get into Destroyer because he's new. We're going to try to go pretty quick for Thor because who cares? All right, Thor looks up and down a little bit. His hair gets in the way. Can't really blame Hasbro too much for that. They could have used softer material, but even with that, it wouldn't have helped because of the cape and everything. So his head basically can't pose. Shoulders, they go out to the side pretty well. Full rotation, that's fine. Look how much bigger his shoulders are than his pecs. Why can't Hasbro get things right? Just once in a while would be wonderful. It would do me so much good to be able to say some nice things, more nice things about Hasbro. Alright, it's funny because so many people say I'm too generous on Hasbro, and so many people say I just hate them. Sounds like I'm probably just doing my job. Alright, okay, so elbows work pretty well. Wrists have... He's very gummy, by the way. Very gummy, and I kind of remember the last Thor being that way too, but wrists have a swivel and a hinge. The hammer gripping hand does have a vertical hinge, so I like that. You're welcome. Okay, leaning back. He leans back a little bit. He leans forward a little bit, side to side a little bit. It's fine. It's nothing crazy, but it's good. A little bit of rotation, and you get the waist twist. It's fine. Could definitely be better, but it's okay. Bringing the legs out to the side. Plenty of range. Not full on splits, but pretty good. Going forward, it does kick the leg out to the side quite a bit, but he can get it up to pretty much horizontal. Can't go back too far at all. Thigh swivel is going to swivel. Double jointed knee works well enough. Proportioning is better on this guy, though not perfect, but it's okay. And then the knee works okay. You get a boot swivel, which is nicely hidden, so if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. Ankles go pretty far back and pretty far forward. I'll take that. That's awesome. That's the way it goes. Speaking of, sometimes people tell me, you know what? Your feet don't actually go that far forward. It's all in the toes. And that's actually not true. You can bring your foot pretty far forward if you have proper flexibility. Plus, it's an action figure, and toe joints generally harm a figure's posability, and they take away from budget, so a good ankle is always a good thing, and this is plenty of range, so I like that a whole bunch. And then you have an okay ankle rocker, so he's acceptable. Nothing special. For Marvel Legends, I will give him a 7. It's okay. Alright, so now let's go ahead and talk about Destroyer, his articulation. I haven't messed with this guy too much, so we're going to find out together. What kind of joint is the head on? Ball peg. Double ball peg. He can lean, so that's good. He can't look up and down very much. He can rotate, of course. He can rotate and lean, but they didn't give him too much range. I have to pop it off if it'll come off easily. I can. Okay, so it actually has decent range, decent enough range. They still, okay, here's the thing. Okay, so that's decent for what it is, for what's there, but if you zoom in, look how much bigger the neck is than that ball. That ball, I'm guessing, is about the same size as that. You could almost double that ball size, and that's going to give you incredibly better range. Because the hole will be bigger, the ball will be bigger, the peg can stay the same, and then you'll be able to take it so much farther than that. Instead of making the ball bigger, they made the peg longer. And that only works if you have like 15 inches worth of range, and you don't in a neck, so it doesn't really work. And this peg being small, that's fine. A tiny peg at top, that works. That's for adjustment posing. You're supposed to get most of your range out of that bottom peg, and since they didn't, you get so little range out of that bottom peg. Hasbro can't handle ball pegs. That's amazing to me. Shoulder pads they did do properly though. They tuck in inside the arm, so they rotate this way with the arm, which is exactly the way you want them to do it. That's flexible enough, so that works. Bringing the arm out to the side, that works perfectly too. That's exactly how you want to do this shoulder pad. Great job on that. Good job, Hasbro. They're getting there. Maybe after, how long have they been making action figures? Maybe after a few more decades, they'll get those ball pegs right. Okay, bicep swivel is good. That's fine. Single jointed elbow, less than 90, but probably good enough for Destroyer. It rotates there. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. I have to mention, by the way, he probably looks pretty good right now on camera because of the harsh lighting. Under normal lighting, he's not as nice looking. He doesn't have as much reflection. This is, as far as marbled plastic goes, pretty good, but paint would have looked a whole lot better. Okay, just wanted to reiterate that because I noticed as I'm posing it, you guys are probably thinking, hey, he's got a lot of shine to him. Kinda. And the wash doesn't help that much. All right, leaning back, he can lean back, so that's pretty good. Can he lean forward? Let's see. He can. They did a good job with that ball peg. That is nice. Can he go side to side? He can very nicely, and of course rotation. That's wonderful. The only thing that would have made this torso better, other than sculpt, is to have another cut here and a ball peg so that he could really get into some leaning. But since it's Destroyer, it probably doesn't matter. Okay, so that's good. That's a good torso. See, I say nice things. Shoulder pads, wonderful. Torso, wonderful. I'm happy to say when things are good. I'm just also going to say when things are bad. Like these hips, that's really ugly joint. It gives you that pinched in look. Really, really weird. Again, Destroyer's probably not doing the splits, and they have decent range, but it's not the prettiest joint. It's a lot of cavity in there that's probably not as necessary. Alright, bring the leg forward, works pretty well, kicks it out to the side some, but not too much. So that's pretty good. Does it go back? Just a little tiny bit. Thigh swivel is a thigh swivel, double jointed knee. Pretty good. You can see proportioning, like even though you can't bring the knee far enough back, you can see that this chunk here is about equal to this whole chunk including the foot. That's what you want your proportioning to be, generally speaking. They did that, so that's good. And then for the ankles, let's see what kind of range we get on his little croc feet. They do go back nicely. They go forward nicely. That's good. And the ankle rocker, pretty solid. Okay, so that's pretty good. So his articulation, limited in the neck, but everything else works pretty well. Still nothing special, I would say, because it's a Destroyer. They didn't like try to get him to have extra good range, but what's here works pretty well. You could go even 8 if you wanted to for articulation for this guy. It's not Spider-Man, remember, so single joints and things like that, they're okay, but good torso, good hips, good ankles. It's not bad. You could go 8. I'm probably be happier at a 7, but you could do 8. And that's pretty good. A lot of people were telling me he's got really good butt cheeks, but it's just like the tiniest little bit of a butt. I mean, it's fine, but it's not a McFarlane review, so we can't rate it. Okay, so time for a final verdict for this 2-pack. Is it good enough? I would say Destroyer is probably passable, but definitely good enough. The chest is weird, but he does pose well, and he has a good enough shelf appeal, thanks to the shininess of the plastic, and a little bit of wash on there does help. So if it was bare plastic, would not have gotten a pass. So that looks pretty good. It's Thor, though. This, as I mentioned, this right here is unforgivable, so that should mean you don't buy the figure, but assuming you may want to still, I'm going to give it an overall rating of 7, I guess, because there is lots of good stuff. Thor's head is nice. Destroyer has a lot of good stuff going on, but Thor is gummy as heck, and that paint job thing is just inexcusable. Let's see if I can speak English. So yeah, there's a lot of good, and as usual, a lot of bad. So like I said, Hasbro had a really good opportunity here, and they Hasbro'd all over it. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about the video by giving it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You can let me know in the comment section what you think about the figures. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.